Which team will finish on top in the 2022 Formula 1 season? Hey guys, it's Taran and welcome to the On Track channel, where in today's video we'll be going through my 2022 pre-testing predictions, Constructors edition. Before we get going, do make sure to give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed and subscribe down below for more great content. It really does help out the channel and is much appreciated. Now without further ado, let's get started. In 10th place, I'm putting Haas. While I do think they'll have improved a lot from 2021, given how they completely threw away the entire season, I have my doubts about the team as a whole. And combine that with two still very young drivers, I'm struggling to see them moving off the bottom. And if they do, I don't think it'll be too far. Since 2018, they've fallen off dramatically, and I can't imagine the constant rumours of Gene Haas being done with F1 do the team any good. Ultimately, to me, the team doesn't feel stable, and it seems like the issues they have are much more embedded than in the year-to-year car design. In 9th, I've put Alfa Romeo. This is based on a few things. First, the team hasn't finished higher than 8th since 2013, where they finished 7th. We've had multiple significant regulation changes since then, and they've always been towards the back of the pack. Plus, the team also has a brand new driver lineup of Valtteri Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou. And while Bottas has a proven track record as a solid driver, Guan Yu Zhou is very much an unknown, and given he didn't really set Formula 2 alight, finishing 7th, 6th and 3rd in 3 seasons, I'd be surprised if he came into F1 and performed highly straight away. Combine these two things and I struggle to place Alfa Romeo any higher. In 8th place is AlphaTauri. While 2021 was arguably the team's most successful ever, finishing 6th, they always struggle being the junior Red Bull team. Throughout their time in F1 they've always been in and around the 7th, 8th place range, and I'm struggling to see a major change there. They do, however, have Pierre Gasly, who over 2020 and 2021 has proven to be one of the better drivers on the grid, both in terms of qualifying and race pace. Tsunoda, on the other hand, struggled as a rookie, but he did show signs of improvement towards the end of the season, which hopefully he can carry into 2022. Although the driver pairing may end up being quite good this season, I don't think it'll be enough to overcome the team's tendency of being a lower midfield to backmarker team, especially after a new regulation change. Next up, in 7th, I've gone with Aston Martin. 2021 was a disappointing season for them, and 2022 hasn't started off much better, with team principal Otmar Szafnauer and longtime sponsor BWT both leaving ahead of the start of the season. While I do think the investment from Lawrence Stroll will eventually bring the team up the grid, I don't believe it'll quite happen yet. In terms of drivers, I find it difficult to see either Lance Stroll or Sebastian Vettel working wonders with what I believe will be a below average car, sort of like in 2021. In 6th place, I've put Williams. Since 2019, their car performance has been on the up, and having received funding through their recent purchase by Doralton Capital, I can see that trend continuing. My biggest concern for the team, however, is with its drivers. Coming into his 3rd season, Nicholas Latifi is widely considered to be near the back of the pack, but I do think having George Russell as a teammate hasn't helped him. This year will be key up against Alex Albon, who returns to F1 after a year as the Red Bull reserve driver. Alex was generally good in his 2 seasons, but did struggle matching the level of Max Verstappen, although maybe that's to be expected. Ultimately, I think Williams' season will very much depend on the drivers and seeing exactly what they're capable of. In 5th place, I've put Alpine. Now I know that El Plan will be in full effect this year, but I still struggle to see the team cracking the top 4. I do see them being much closer to 4th, however, than to 6th place, and if I had to put a performance split in somewhere in these rankings, it would probably be here. The good news though is that Fernando Alonso may well be the hungriest driver on the grid this season, as I can't imagine he'll have too many more goes at winning a championship after 2022. On the other side of the garage, I'm struggling to see Ocon really being quite good enough to help the team to that next level. He's shown flashes, but still has been average to above average driver, not on the same level as the likes of Norris or Leclerc, and I don't think it'll be quite enough to bring the team up a place from last year. In 4th place is McLaren. Despite finishing lower than in 2020, I definitely think the team made progress this past season, but to me something just doesn't quite feel the same as the likes of Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari. While I think the driver pairing is good, I don't think it's as good as the teams above them, and Daniel Ricciardo's performance in 2021 really doesn't fill me with optimism. We've seen him struggle to adjust to cars in the past few seasons, and given the changes in 2022 will be some of the biggest in years, I think he'll struggle with them too. Norris last year really took a step, and while I think he'll continue to improve, I don't think it'll be enough to drag the team up any higher. McLaren should be set for a solid season, maybe getting a couple of wins, more than the one they got last year, but I just don't have the same optimism that I do when I look at the top three, and for that reason I've only put them fourth. In third place, P3, Red Bull. Now, we've seen in the past that with regulation changes, Red Bull haven't quite been there right off the bat, and given that this year they also have had to take on their own engines, I can see them taking a bit of a step backwards. We saw them put a lot into the 2021 car, and I think that ultimately that may well hurt them in 2022. The reason for me placing them above McLaren and Alpine, however, is quite simple: Max Verstappen. While his driving has divided fans, there's no denying his outright ability is arguably the best on the grid, and winning the championship last year showed that. I don't doubt that Max will be able to get the best out of that car, but I do worry a little with Sergio Perez. Last year he scored less than half the points of his teammate, and although had good races, I'm not fully confident he can get as much out of that car as Max will. The saving grace for Perez, in my opinion, will be that if the new cars are able to race much closer, that should help him if he qualifies out of position, which was something that really hurt him this year. Overall, I don't think they'll drop off a cliff, but I do think they'll regress slightly, leaving them in third place. Now the top two. Second place, I've gone Ferrari. This one was really close, and the team took a big step up in 2021 compared to 2020, and especially so when they had their new engines fitted. I think since Russia, they really closed the gap on McLaren quickly and then held them off for third. Off track, Ferrari will always have great facilities and the potential to challenge for titles, there's no doubt about that. And in terms of driver lineup, to me, it's right up there at the top. Leclerc has been considered one of the top drivers for a couple of years now, and with Carlos Sainz having finished fifth in the standings, higher than both Leclerc and Norris, I think he'll finally get the appreciation he deserves. Over the last year, we saw the partnership work well when a number of people thought it could get a bit fiery, but potentially that changes if they're fighting right at the very top for the wins and the championships. Ultimately, I really feel like these two top teams could go either way, and will most likely come down to a few key decisions, which in the past Ferrari have been known to be questionable on, especially with certain strategy calls. So ultimately, I've put them in second, but it was very close. Which of course, in first place, leaves Mercedes. This year we saw them push the hardest they've been in the turbo hybrid era, and still ultimately came out on top, winning their 8th consecutive Constructors title. The big advantage for me that Mercedes have is quite simply how well run and how efficient the whole team is. It's rare to see mistakes from them, though some did creep in this year, but on the whole they have the facilities, personnel, team culture to tackle whatever's thrown at them. Driver wise, I think they have potentially the best pairing on the grid, tied with Ferrari probably for me, especially if George Russell is anything like he was in Sakir back in 2020. If he can come in and do a better job than Bottas from the get-go, I think they'll be really hard to beat. Lewis Hamilton is Lewis Hamilton, and while I think the way 2021 ended will have really hurt him, if anyone can bounce back from adversity, it's him. Overall for me, Mercedes tick every box, and that's why I've got them on top for 2022. But I don't think it'll be as runaway as it was in the likes of 2014 and 15. With cars that should be closer, I'm hoping the rest of the field, especially the likes of Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, will be right there, able to challenge for race wins. So there you have it, my 2022 pre-testing predictions, Constructors edition. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, click the subscribe button for more F1 related content, leave any feedback, suggestions or opinions in the comments down below, and until next time, take care.